Welcome everybody to today's meeting, Wednesday the 20th of May 2026. Before we get going, I'd like just a reminder that everybody turn their mobile phone either off or to silent, please. If I could have, I'll do the statement of acknowledgement first. So we acknowledge the Bunurong as the traditional owners and custodians of the lands and the waters in which we stand here today, and we pay our respects to the elders, past, present and emerging. If I could have Councillor Halstead to read the councillor statement.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. All members of this council pledge to the Bass Coast Shire community to consider every item listed on this agenda based on the individual merits of each item, without bias or prejudice, by maintaining an open mind and disregarding councillors' personal interests so as to avoid any conflict with our public duty. Any councillor having a conflict of interest in an item will make a proper prior disclosure to the meeting and will not participate in debate or vote on the issue. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Halstead. I'd like to offer a warm welcome to our work experience students in the gallery today. I've had the opportunity to speak with, I think, all of you now a couple of times, and you all seem to be enjoying yourself, learning lots, and it's great to see you here because it makes me think that we're in safe hands with the next generation coming through. So welcome to you all. I'd also like to make a special announcement and congratulate Phillip Island's artist Richard Lua on winning the 2026 Archibald Prize.
Yeah.
Amazing achievement. Richard painted a powerful portrayal of Ilawanti Ken, and it was painted right here in Bass Coast at actually Sunderland Bay. So an incredible achievement, and that's just an example of some of the amazing talented people we have in our backyard. Okay, we have an apology from Councillor O'Brien, and Councillor O'Brien, I wish you all the best. We have no declarations of interest, and if I can now confirm the minutes of our previous meeting held on the 29th of April, can I have someone move and second it? Councillor Temby, seconded Councillor Thompson. Put it straight to a vote, Councillor Temby.
Yep.
Put it to a vote, all in favour. Carried unanimously. Mayor and Councillor reports, so as always they will be in the minutes. So if you want to jump online and have a look at those, you're more than welcome to. Public question time. I haven't done this for a lot of years, so stick with me. So I'll read out the questions, and Mr Box will read out the response. We do have someone in the gallery that would like to read their question, so once we get there at question 3, I'll ask you to come forward, read your question, and then it will be responded to. Okay, so question 1, Philip Davey, topic is urban descriptions. Why does council have a number of policies and construction programs prioritising the word urban, which according to the dictionary definition is described as city living, high density housing areas? Bass Coast is described as a regional area consisting of seaside villages, towns, hamlets and rural areas. Okay, Mr Box.
Through the Mayor. Reference to urban refers to the distinction between policies and programs that affect our developed, constructed townships as opposed to the rural breaks and predominant agricultural land which is of a non-urban nature.
Question 2 is also from Philip Davey, and it's regarding Thompson Avenue. Why doesn't the newly constructed Thompson Avenue have curb and gutter to protect pedestrians from possible errant vehicles and retain storm water on the road instead of concrete edging? Erosion of landscaping and stormwater flow will cause a problem along the eastern side at the intersection with the Esplanade.
Through the Mayor. The Cowes Foreshore Precinct is designed to be a low-speed environment and open spaces that encourage safe pedestrian and vehicle movements. The design ensures water movement is directed towards stormwater drainage, collection points and discharge areas.
Sancha, I'll ask you to come forward and read your questions if I can, please.
Would you like me to read out the topic first?
You go for it.
Okay.
It's your couple of minutes.
Thank you. So the topic is in regards to application PD plan per 2025-001206, proposed childcare centre in Shetland Heights Road. The first question is, with 19 with 19 on-site car parks provided for 21 required staff, leaving 0 on-site drop-off spaces for a 100-place childcare facility, how can council legally or safely approve this application when 100% of the parking is forced onto Shetland Heights Road?
And I'll get you to read question 2 as well, Sandra, and we'll respond to both.
Second question, given that the applicant's proposal and council's official notice was contained the wrong property address, what statutory provision allows council to vote at the 20th of May meeting on an invalid application rather than immediately deferring until a legally accurate application and public notice are processed?
Thank you for that, and I'll ask you to jump back and Councillor Box. You wouldn't want it. Mr Box will respond.
Through the Mayor, car parking rates are set under the state planning provisions and provide the basis for council officer assessment, including the consideration of safe vehicle movements and road environments. The application referred to the historical address of the land prior to its subdivision. This was subsequently updated through the application. This matter will be dealt with within this meeting agenda.
Thank you, and thank you for reading and taking the time to come here as well. Question 4 is from Kerry Dawes, and its topic is councillor performance. There's 2 questions. Number 1 is, how does the council measure their performance and councillors measure success in their role as councillor? And question 2, how should the community measure success of the council and the individual councillors?
Through the Mayor, Council's quarterly performance reports, together with the annual report, provide transparent reporting to the community on the achievements of Council. These documents can be found on Council's website. Each individual in our community may have a different criteria for how they measure success or the performance of their elected councillors.
Question 5 is from Joe Warrilow, and it's regarding the Treasury report. The Treasury report, page 40, ending 31 March 2026, shows term deposits of 14 million maturing third quarter 2026-2027, 13 million maturing first quarter 2026-27. What is the strategy when each year the lesser expenditure to capital works, 2.373 million for 25-26, is paid out in the first quarter?
Through the Mayor, the cash flow and funds held on term deposit are driven by several factors, including the timing of rates revenue receipts, expenditure on operational projects, and wider organisational commitments. This is in addition to planned capital works. These factors are all considered when placing funds on term deposits.
Question 6 is from Graham Jolly, and it's regarding cash flow statement. Cash flow statement, page 43, expenditure of materials and services, 30,529,000 at the 31st of March 2026. 30th of June 2026, forecast figures is 50,896,000, which is an expenditure across the last quarter of 19,867,000. Page 50, draft budget 2026-27 provides a listing. Why is council spending 19,867,000 in the last quarter?
Through the Mayor, the forecasted quarter 4 expenditure is relative to the movements of financial statement areas of the balance sheet, notable due to the timing of supplier payments. A higher trade creditors balance was reported at the end of the quarter 3, with a $3 million reduction forecast by the end of quarter 4.
Question 7 is also from Graham Jolly, and it's capital works expenditure. First quarter, 2.373 million. Second quarter, 8.232 million. Third quarter, 6.479 million. Fourth quarter forecast, 30th of June 2026, 18.372 million, which is a yearly cost of 35.456 million. Why has council waited until the last quarter of the year to complete and pay for works at 18.372 million?
Through the Mayor, Council does not delay works to the final quarter. This reflects how capital projects are delivered and paid. Early in the year is focused on procurement and commencement of works, with construction completion occurring later. Payments are typically made at completion or key milestones, resulting in higher expenditure in the third and fourth quarters.
Thank you for those questions. And I think you've let me off easily with only 7. I think that's the least amount in a long, long time, so thank you. Next is notices of motion, of which I have none. Petitions, joint letters, deputations and correspondence, of which I have none. So that brings us to reports requiring council decisions. 8.1 is 2025-26 Q3 performance report to be introduced by Mr Dillon.
Thank you, and through the Mayor. This report presents Council's quarterly performance report for the period ending 31st of March 2026. Of the 27 actions in the annual action plan, 7 have been completed, 19 are on track, and 1 is delayed but expected to be back on track and completed by the end of Q4. Key highlights include the adoption of the Rating Strategy 2026, completion of the Phase 2 of the Cow Streetscape project, and the co-design of the draft First Peoples framework with the Bunurong Land Council. Financially, Council is forecasting a full year net deficit of 1.2 million, which is 0.3 million favourable to budget. The recommendation is that Council receives the Q3 quarterly performance report. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Dillon. Can I have somebody move and second? Councillor Thompson, second. Councillor Bauer.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Our quarterly performance report is the opportunity for the community to see what has been activated to date and future projects to be undertaken. We have completed projects such as the Community Vision Plan, Long-Term Financial Plan and the Differential Rate Strategy, to name a few. On track, we have started a functional layout plan for Phillip Island Recreation Reserve, commenced a detailed design for the Aquatic Centre in Wonthaggi and commenced a review of the Bass Coast Planning Scheme. These and other projects are ongoing and on track for delivery. One such project that I'm proud of is the Access and Inclusion Team. To adopt a first in Victoria was to introduce a 3D tactile bin shaped stickers for those with low vision to identify each bin. Very importantly, continue to advocate for the protection of the Western Port woodlands, requesting the Minister for Planning to apply interim protection of these magnificent woodlands. Lastly, another completed project close to my heart was the Cuddy Sark Road footpath and drainage upgrades in Coronet Bay. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Thompson. Councillor Thompson. Councillor Bauer.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, fellow councillors and ratepayers watching this meeting, which is many of them today. Lovely to see the gallery so full. The quarterly report is good reading. It is pleasing to see that the capital works programs are on track and on budget, even with the financial constraints that have been put on council in recent times. In these uncertain times, to be able to keep the works on budget and in some cases ahead of schedule, the officers and the workers are to be applauded. I wish to comment on the Cow Streetscape project. I'm impressed by the support package that has been prepared for the traders as this project is underway. Living through a similar situation in Melbourne, where my store is seriously impacted by the arcade literally next door being renovated, Little Collins Street, and the street being closed so regularly, I wish the Melbourne City Council put out a similar package. The short-term pain that is being experienced now by the cows traders will be well and truly compensated by the advertising and support Cows Bass Coast Shire, got it out, is providing the cows traders. Thank you, officers, for listening to their concerns. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Bauer. Would anyone else like to speak to or against this motion? Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm pleased also to support the adoption of the Q3 performance report. I think it highlights steady progress across our key priorities and reflects the strong work being delivered for our community. In sustainability, it's great to see a new solar and battery system quoted and scheduled for installation at the Real Community Hall, which is an important step towards reducing emissions and operating costs while also improving resilience at a valued community facility. The Phillip Island Recreation Reserve, the design works have commenced and the functional layout plan is progressing, which is a significant project for our community, and it's encouraging to see that it is moving forward. Councillor Bowers mentioned the Cow Streetscape that continues to progress, and we're looking forward to that finishing up soon. And I just also wanted to comment on our advocacy, which has been a key focus, that we've made those lovely advocacy videos for aquatics and the Western Port Woodlands, which provided a really compelling way to communicate our priorities and strengthen our case for investment to protect our environment and deliver essential infrastructure. We are also continuing to invest in people through the South Coast Community Leadership Program, which builds local leadership and strengthens our community's capacity for the future. There were some major events highlighted, including the San Remo Channel Challenge, the Phillip Island Pro and the Bass Coast Sustainability Festival, which all support our local economy and showcase the very best of our community. So overall, I think this report reflects consistent delivery and meaningful progress across a wide range of areas. And I commend the staff for their efforts, and I'm pleased to support the report.
Thank you, Councillor Bale. Would anyone else like to speak to or against? No? Councillor Thompson?
Yes, please move it to a vote.
Put it to a vote. All in favour of the recommendation? Carried unanimously. Okay, 8.2. 89 Shetland Heights Road, San Remo, planning permit application number PDPLANPER 2025-001-206, to be introduced by Ms Thompson, Ms Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this report is for Council to consider a planning permit application for the use and development of the land at 89 Shetland Heights Road in San Remo for a childcare centre. The proposed centre would have 100 childcare places. The application also considers the display of signage, removal of vegetation and reduction in the statutory car parking requirement. Notice of the application was provided to 82 surrounding residents and landowners, and 72 objections have been received. Objectors' concerns have been considered as part of the assessment of this proposal. It is recommended that Council issue a notice of decision to grant a planning permit for the use and development subject to conditions. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Taylor. I understand there is an alternative to be put
I'd
forward
like to put an alternative. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
by Councillor Temby. Can we put that up on screen? Can you introduce your alternative without speaking to it, please?
Yes, I'd like to move an alternate that highlights the difficulties with the current application and a different approach to the matter.
Thank you, Councillor Temby. Can I get a second at the alternative? Councillor Thompson. Councillor Temby, you may now speak to your motion.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. There are many shortcomings in the childcare centre proposal. Approving it would create inconsistencies and breaches with our council's plans, strategies and guidelines that include but are not limited to its inappropriate location, no easy access to public transport, insufficient parking, commercialising residential areas and numerous environmental breaches as detailed in the alternate motion on the screen. We want and should support the development of a new childcare centre in San Remo. However, this proposal is far too big for the single block chosen and should be built on a site where the personal safety of the children attending is given far greater priority, where public transport is available, where a loop road for off-street drop-off and pick-up is available, and where Shetland Heights Road is not automatically congested to the detriment of all other users, including the emergency services and school buses. Despite the proponents' misinformation that the site was on 85 to 91 Shetland Heights Road, that it is, i.e. that it's spread over multiple blocks, it's in fact only a single smaller block at number 89, and the proponent cannot even provide sufficient parking for their own staff, let alone any safe space for ongoing child drop-off and pick-up needs. This misinformation makes me question the credibility of other details within the proposal. It is totally foreseeable that drop-offs and pick-ups will occur on both sides of the narrow Shetland Heights Road. When this occurs, the roadway becomes a narrow single vehicle lane, assuming car doors on the right-hand side are closed. If roadway doors on both vehicles are open, only motorbikes would be able to squeeze through. Road rage can be expected to occur regularly under the proponent's plan. This could physically and psychologically endanger the young families trying to use the facility. Apart from a number of environmental issues, including the need to notify the presence of the highly endangered Latham's snipe under the EPBC Act, Shetland Heights Road is used as the alternate highway when there is a highway incident on the San Remo side of Potters Hill Road. If this occurs during drop-off or pick-up times, there will be total gridlock at the childcare centre, The increased risk to the safety of young children will probably move from very high to extreme when this gridlock occurs. It will also seriously delay all other road users, including the emergency services. This proposal may meet our very narrow Planning Act criteria, but it is way outside the accepted community safety expectations and has attracted widespread, detailed and justified objections. We should respect and reflect on those objections. In addition, we should actively work with the developer to locate and develop their proposed San Remo childcare centre on a much larger site that can accommodate sufficient parking for all staff and visitors and has safe off-street drop-off and pick-up arrangements. I commend the alternate motion as detailed on the screen to all of you.
Thank you, Councillor Temby. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Although this planning permit for a childcare centre meets all the planning regulations and requirements and has been recommended by the officers to support this planning permit, I'm unable to accept their recommendation. There has been over 70 objections on a variety of reasons for rejection. I've also, along with my fellow ward councillors, met with the delegation from the community to hear their concerns. Most of these concerns are for the safety of the children, traffic and noise. There's no real defined drop-off area and the proposed on-site parking spaces reserved for staff gives concern that parents will drop off on the roadway or park cars either side of the road. Given the proposal to mine over 100 children, the drop-off and pick-up times will mean chaos. Many of the concerns are that a child will be injured or worse. With traffic congestion, the access for fire, ambulance and waste management vehicles will have difficulties navigating the narrow road, and particularly with cars parked either side of the roadway. There are residents' driveways on both sides of the proposed centre, making it difficult for these residents to enter and exit their property during peak times. I've listened to the residents and I agree I do not believe this is an appropriate position for a childminding centre. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Would anyone else like to speak? Councillor Morgan.
Thanks, Mayor. Just quickly, look, I don't think that amenity or noise is reason enough to knock back an application for what is an essential service in our community. However, I do think that the safety risk makes this proposal impossible for me to support. I think, you know, we talk a lot about our reliance on vehicles and cars in Bass Coast, and this is a perfect example of why we need to make our towns more accessible so we can actually fit essential services like childcare in where we just can't in this case. I've walked the site. There's no way that I would allow my kid, my hypothetical kid, to be dropped off on this street. You know, this is a proposal for a 100-place childcare centre on a residential street without adequate parking, and unfortunately, I'm not willing to put our community to that level of danger.
Thank you, Councillor Morgan. Councillor Bauer.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, fellow councillors and ratepayers watching this meeting. There is no doubt that San Remo needs more childcare facilities. On the face of it, the application looks reasonable. But after looking at the plans, talking to the Western Port ward councillors and reading some of the 70+ objections, I can see that the devil is in the detail, and as has been adequately expressed by other councillors. I have no doubt that a more suitable site can be found in San Remo. After considerable consideration, I will support this alternate motion.
Thank you, Councillor Bauer. Anyone else like to speak to or against? Councillor Holstead.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I think what this application does is expose the very limited ability that councillors now have to represent the feelings of their community. We're constantly advised that as long as it is within the planning regulations, then it will go through. I feel incredibly frustrated that I come into this council chamber so often, and that is what we are presented with. Communities are not built on just regulation. Communities are built on understanding the area in which people live, the character that it comes with, and that can't be put into legislation. And that's what I think councillors' roles are for, to come in and express the character of the communities that we represent. Now, that may not be in line with the legislation, and this is the perfect example of a planning application where the community, we have 82, correct me if I'm wrong, Ms
Through the Mayor,
Taylor?
72.
72.
No, but 82 notifications, of which 72 people put in an objection. Now, those numbers alone are telling you that the community is sending a message that this is against character, it's not safe. And as a local to San Remo who knows this site very well, there are things in this report that can't be mentioned, and it's things like driving from the Bass Coast College end of Shetland Heights Road towards the water at certain times of the year, you cannot see. The sun is beaming straight in your face. Now, locals will know that. That's not something you can put in legislation. The road, the width of the road, which we already have trouble with when people park on both sides of the road, the residents are right. There's very minimal space to fit a car. And as I think it was Councillor Bauer may have said, with 2 doors open, or was that you, Councillor Temby? You couldn't fit a motorbike. They're things that can't be expressed through legislation. So it's incredibly frustrating that this is not part of legislation. Community sentiment and community understanding of their own communities. So it's for that reason that I will not be supporting the recommendation, and I'll be supporting the alternative that Councillor Temby has put up. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Halstead. Okay, would anyone else like to speak to or against this recommendation? No? Councillor Temby, would you like to...
A quick summary.
Well, bearing no one spoke against, actually, Councillor Temby, we don't need to come back because you, as a right of reply, you only get to come back to talk against anyone.
Put to a vote.
So we'll put it straight to a vote. All in favour of the alternative as it reads. That is carried unanimously. I expected a cheer. Okay, item number 8.3, Nesky Court Development Plan to be presented by Ms Taylor.
Thank you, Councillors.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
The purpose of this report is for
Hang on, Ms Taylor, we'll just pause. Thank you. Thank you. Righto.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this report is for Council to consider the endorsement of the Nesky Court Development Plan. Nesky Court was rezoned from low-density residential zone to general residential zone through Planning Scheme Amendment C124 in 2014. The Inverloch Design Framework identified the area as suitable for future residential growth, subject to coordinated planning outcomes. At that time, the development plan overlay was applied to ensure coordinated infrastructure provision, appropriate environmental outcomes, integrated road and drainage planning, and orderly residential growth. Whilst the Planning and Environment Act does not mandate advertising of development plans, all landowners within the development plan area were provided the opportunity to comment, and a total of 10 submissions were received. These submissions were considered in the assessment of the application. If approved, the plan will enable future planning permit applications for subdivision to be considered in accordance with the endorsed framework, and it is recommended that the development plan be endorsed by Council. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Taylor. I have an alternative to be put forward by Councillor Edwards, if we can put that up on the screen. And Councillor Edwards, if you could just summarise your alternative without actually speaking to it.
Okay, thank you, Mr Mayor. Essentially, some ward councillors met with members of the officers of the planning department and some of the submitters yesterday, and have reached, I guess, with your coordination, a compromise of taking into account the stage 5 things down the track to make sure that their concerns are going to get heard and taken note of, regardless of who's around the table at that point in time. That may or may not go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. Can I get a seconder? Councillor Morgan, now you are free to speak to the...
I think I've actually basically just said it. So thank you.
Okay, Councillor Morgan.
Thanks. Look, I think that this is a really good example of our community, ward councillors, developers, everybody working together quite well. I'm a proud member of the Inverloch community, and I think we're really showing our best in this, what is hopefully an opportunity for people to keep talking openly in good faith about what we value in our community, which is fairness as well as providing housing. So let's take this forward and hope that the smart minds prevail.
Thank you. Can I just, and this is, I don't like to do this from the chair, but I'm just looking for the alternative. So it was, is it up on the screen?
Yeah, it's up on the screen. It's right in front of you.
That is the alternate.
The additional?
The addition of
Yeah.
point 2.
The stage 5 part.
Okay. It's just not what I thought I read earlier on. That was all. Sorry about that.
Let's continue.
Is there,
Yeah, there's another page.
yeah, there's a part, that was already part of the original recommendation.
Correct.
The alternative, which was added on, there was a part 2 added on at the end.
Yes, I just don't have it on the slides. Sorry.
Can we get someone read that? So
Yeah, I'll see if I can find it and read it out.
Don't worry, Mr Mayor, I would have got you out of trouble. I would have the same problem.
So I'm just waiting for it to open up.
just remembering, Jade, that you're up on screen and
Oh,
going
you've
out
got it coming.
going out live at the moment. So be careful what you bring up.
I love that.
Yeah, Donna can read it.
Taylor's got it.
While that's coming out, do you want me to read it out?
No, we've got it here now. So we're just putting up on screen. So from my understanding, Councillor Edwards, is the alternative is part 2.
Yes.
Can you just read that out if you could?
Like me to read that?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So the part that's been added as which forms the alternate to the recommendation, and this comes out as I mentioned in the meeting yesterday, is to resolve to invite landowners to attend a workshop with council officers within 3 months of the endorsement, or as agreed by the participants, to assist with the future development of the land in stage 5.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Morgan, you've already spoken. Would anyone else like to speak to or against this recommendation or the alternative? Councillor Temby.
Yep, thanks, Mr Mayor. This appears to be a good infill proposal and takes into consideration a number of environmental issues which I think are important in all new developments. I'm concerned by rates implications for those who may not choose to participate, but it would be good to ensure the encouragement of solar passive building options, dark skies, lighting design, and maximising the retention of existing Indigenous vegetation. However, removal of the narrow-leaved ash trees and other invasive weeds vegetation is important, as is ensuring sufficient Indigenous canopy trees to prevent heat island impacts and maximising the public open space with canopy cover.
Thank you, Councillor Temby. Would anyone else like to speak to or against this alternative? No? No? I'll put it straight to a vote. Councillor Edwards?
Yes.
Yep. Put it to a vote. All in favour? Carried unanimously. Okay, 8.4, Draft Amendment C180BASC-112 Bass Road, Bass Low Density Rezoning, to be presented by Ms Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this report is for Council to consider the commencement of a planning scheme amendment to rezone land at 112 Bass Road in Bass. The proposed amendment seeks to rezone the land from farming zone to low-density residential zone in order to facilitate future low-density residential development within the Bass Township boundary. Officers have completed an assessment of the amendment application and have concluded it is strategically justified. It is recommended that Council seeks authorisation from the Minister for Planning to commence Amendment C180. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Taylor. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Thompson, and seconded Councillor Temby. Councillor Thompson.
As this land is located in the protected settlement boundary for Bass and all relevant engineering and technical reports have been provided, I move that we support this amendment to seek authorisation from the Minister for Planning to rezone this land in Bass. This will also add to the target for Bass Coast Shire of 19,250 new homes by 2050. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Temby.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. As for the previous proposal, it'd be good to ensure that when this area is developed, that those environmentally sensitive design principles are applied, and maximising public open space with canopy trees is a part of that process.
Thank you, Councillor Temby. Anyone else like to speak to or against this recommendation? No? Put it straight to a vote.
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. All in favour? Carried unanimously. 8.5, Bass Coast Landcare Network MOU, to be presented by Ms Kennedy.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this report is to renew the partnership between Bass Coast Landcare Network and Bass Coast Shire Council. These two organisations have operated under a Memorandum of Understanding since 2006. The proposed MOU has been drawn up, renewing the commitment through the development of a 4-year partnership agreement and is aligned with Council's partnership policy. The partnership between Landcare Network and Council is a widely respected model of collaboration, driving exceptional outcomes in biodiversity, sustainable agriculture, education and social impact. Since 2019, the partnership has facilitated the planting of 1.68 million plants and successfully leveraged funding at a rate of 23:1, delivering strong value for money. The Landcare Network's efforts have also created 23 local jobs, including 5 traineeships, providing vital employment opportunities and contributed to the region's economic vitality. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Kennedy. To be moved by Councillor Morgan and seconded Councillor Thompson. Councillor Morgan.
Wonderful. Thanks, Mayor. I think as Ms Kennedy just summed up there, we often talk about the environmental value of land care and trees. But what often comes back to me as a greenie is what's the ROI? What's the return on investment? What is the economic impact of this? And an investment rate of 23:1 is an incredible ROI in any boardroom. So can I congratulate Bass Coast Shire Council for coming in with such enthusiasm to team up with Bass Coast Landcare. I've done my fair share of tree plantings with this group with my granddad since I was a little tacker. And to see the continuing relationship is always impressive. So can I say thanks to Ken and the board? Can I say thanks to Dave, Lisa and the works crew, Jai and the POA Social Club getting off the ground? It's fantastic to see this relationship continuing in Bass Coast.
Well done, Councillor Morgan. Councillor Thompson.
Oh, thank you, Mr Mayor. The Bass Coast Landcare Group is to be applauded for bringing together 10 landcare groups to form this network. They provide much knowledge and implement programs in conjunction with the Shire. They offer valued support to community groups, farmers and individual landowners to introduce best practices that will benefit our community and land. I support this initiative and Memorandum of Understanding between Bass Coast Landcare and the Bass Coast Shire.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Would anyone at Councillor Temby? I knew you'd look straight over there, Councillor Temby.
Bass Coast Landcare Network is very active and able to encourage new science-based best practices and have regenerative farming ideas implemented in our rural community. That's of benefit not only to our farmers but to our entire community. It can result in increased climate resilience, higher farm productivity, reduced erosion, cleaner and healthier waterways, better protection for stock, more sustainable pastures, enhanced biodiversity and potentially enhanced biolinks across our region. This MOU will ensure that the Bass Coast Landcare Network remain important partners for the Council to support, and the current 23:1 multiplier effect that they can achieve is most impressive. We should renew the MOU commitment with them and support the development of a 4-year partnership agreement aligned to Council's partnership policy.
Thank you, Councillor Temby. Would anyone else like to speak to or against this recommendation? No.
Put it to the
Put
vote,
it straight
man.
to a vote. All in favour? Carried unanimously. 8.6, Western Port Biosphere Reserve MOU, to be presented by Ms Kennedy.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this report is to renew the long-standing partnership with Western Port Biosphere Reserve Foundation. The foundation is a not-for-profit organisation that has worked with the community to create a sustainable future for Western Port. An MOU has been drawn up renewing the commitment through the development of a 4-year partnership agreement aligned with Council's partnership policy. The Mornington Peninsula and Western Port Biosphere Reserve is one of only 5 biosphere reserves across Australia and one of 748 covering 134 countries worldwide. The reserve was designated by UNESCO in 2002, being recognised for its unique natural assets, including its world-renowned Ramsar wetlands. The reserve spans French Island and 5 local government areas, including Mornington Peninsula, Frankston, Casey, Cardinia and Bass Coast. Alongside Bass Coast's contribution, other council members of the Western Port Biosphere also make annual contributions to the foundation. The foundation leveraged this combined investment by councils by over 459% in 2025. Renewing the partnership with the Western Port Biosphere ensures continuity of key advocacy and environmental services that support council's strategic objectives, including biodiversity enhancement, climate resilience and environmental stewardship. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Kennedy. If I can have a mover and a seconder. Councillor Temby, Councillor Morgan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The Western Port Biosphere Foundation is helping to create a sustainable future for the Western Port Bay region from environmental, social and economic perspectives. The Bay is globally recognised via its Ramsar protections and is one of UNESCO's World Network of Biosphere Reserves. We've enjoyed a long-standing partnership with the Biosphere, and it's important that we maintain our 4-year partnership agreement with them and align to the Council's partnership policy. Our shared goals include protecting the natural assets of the Biosphere Reserve, promoting activities that address climate change, protecting biodiversity, encouraging sustainable land use, the development of ecotourism, sustainable agriculture, conservation, education, research and community involvement. Additionally, we both support the adoption of environmental best practice management to address land and water decline in the built and natural environments, and we need to ensure that the Western Port Biosphere Strategic Framework is implemented as well. Maintaining our MOU and broader relationship with the Biosphere is mutually beneficial, and we can see our 459% multiplier for the funds that we put in is mutually beneficial and will ensure continuity and the integration of programs and projects that improve the potential for both groups to achieve our shared goals.
Thank you, Councillor. That was just a sudden stop, so sorry. Thank you, Councillor Temby. Councillor Morgan.
Thanks, Mayor. That was very well put, Councillor Temby. Might I, rather than banging on about the environment myself, as I'm sure the work experience kids are drifting off to sleep, might I encourage community members to jump online and have a look at the UNESCO biosphere listing, because it's actually a really special thing that we have here in Bass Coast and an asset that we share with our neighbouring councils. One of the things that is required for us to be a biosphere is for there to be human interaction, which is so often in conflict with our environment. But I think that we're trying our hardest to balance that in our beautiful, unique marine and coastal environments. And I don't think that I can demonstrate that in nearly as a poetic way as my councillor colleague, Mr. John Temby, or the website. So please go and have a look at the website, but also get out there, go and enjoy the beaches, go and enjoy our marine and coastal environments, because there's really nothing like it anywhere else in the country.
Well said, Councillor Morgan. Would anyone else? Councillor Holstead.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just wanted to add to the debate on this one, given I was a representative on the Western Port Biosphere Committee of Council last year, I think it was, or the year before, and the work they're doing is pretty incredible. I agree the Western Port Biosphere Strategic Framework is really important. Port Phillip already has one. I know that there's been a lot of advocating for us to have the same in Western Port. The Ramsar listed Western Port Bay. I also wanted to point out that Council had a briefing recently with a group called Western Port Down Under, and I guess this one is for the students in the gallery, that I would Google that group called Western Port Down Under, which gives you some pretty incredible vision of what is under the water in Western Port. You will be really surprised. I certainly was, and it made me want to don a wetsuit and some goggles and go for a bit of a splash. Mind you, I'm not sure about the sharks, so I might leave that one alone for someone else to continue to do. So, yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out to Western Port Down Under, because I don't think any of us, when we were provided that information, understood what is under the water, and it's absolutely incredible. So, yes, absolutely, we'll be supporting the recommendation on this one. Thank you.
Councillor Holstead. Councillor Thompson.
No, I wish to speak to it. No, thank you.
Anyone else like to speak to or against? No. Councillor Tenby, put it straight to a vote. All in favour of? Carried unanimously. 8.7 Bass Coast Community Awards to be presented by Miss Kennedy.
Thank you, Mayor. The Bass Coast Community Awards program is a well-established initiative recognising community leadership, volunteerism and contribution. The purpose of this report is to seek council endorsement of the Bass Coast Community Awards program for a 3-year cycle from 2026 to 2028, confirming the annual rotating award, introducing a new Access and Inclusion Award, and revising the judging panel to strengthen governance and transparency. The changes improve program certainty and alignment with council priorities, including the Disability Action Plan, and will be delivered within existing budget. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Kennedy. Would someone, Councillor Thompson, you'd like to move? Somebody second, Councillor Bell. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I wish to endorse this annual program for 26 to 2028. This program includes standing and rotating awards. Standing awards are Community Leader Awards, Next Generation Award, Community Group Award, and I'm so very pleased to recognise the new standing award of Access and Inclusion Award. The rotating awards are for 2026 Environment and Sustainability Award, for 27 Contribution to Arts and Culture, and 2028 Sports Leadership Award. So what is a volunteer? They're an individual or group who willingly dedicate their time, skills and labour to a cause, organisation or community without expecting financial payment. These awards recognise the valuable and often unheard of time and effort to make contributions to our community by individuals and groups. These volunteers usually have a desire to help others, support the environment around them and give back to their community. Appropriately, these awards are given during the National Volunteer Week to recognise community contributions across the Bass Coast. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm also pleased to support the recommendation to endorse the Bass Coast Community Awards program for the next 3 years, and especially this week being National Volunteers Week. So a shout out to all our volunteers across the Shire. I think the community awards are a really important way for council to recognise and celebrate the individuals and groups who make an outstanding contribution to our community. They highlight the quiet achievers, the leaders and all the volunteers who help shape the Bass Coast into a connected and vibrant place that we value. I think that approving the awards for a 3-year cycle gives certainty and stability to the program, and it allows for us to improve our planning, promote it more strongly and make sure it's in clear alignment with our council's broader strategic priorities. The rotating award categories that Councillor Thompson mentioned means that the awards, the program reflects the diversity of contributions across our community, and I also strongly welcome the addition of the Standing Access and Inclusion Award as well. So overall, the Community Awards program is a fantastic celebration of the people who make our community stronger, and I'm really pleased to support the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. Would anyone else like to speak to or against this recommendation? Councillor Temby.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. We should support the continuation of the Bass Coast Community Awards program to recognise local community leadership over the next 3 years. Rotating award categories is a logical way to broaden its reach, and including access and inclusion as a separate category is important. We should support the proposal.
Thank you, Councillor Temby. Anyone else like to speak to or against?
Mr Mayor, I just want to challenge councillors to vote against this recommendation. I actually think that it's one of the best things that our council does. It recognises those people who give selflessly to those around them to make life better for others, and I would make a call out to anyone who isn't volunteering at the moment and has some spare time on their hands. I've spoken to many groups that are always looking for volunteers, and you get a lot out of it, both mentally, physically. So, you know, if you aren't out there joining any particular group, then maybe consider doing so, because it does bring its own rewards and it saves our community a lot of money. Volunteers doing the work out there unpaid means that, you know, government isn't putting their hand in their pocket for some of those things. And I think without the volunteers, we would be paying a lot greater rates and taxes. So big shout out to them, and I can't wait for the community awards. I love it. Every year they come around. It's a really feel-good occasion, and I'll be looking forward to attending again this year. So I'll be supporting the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Holstead. Anyone else like to speak to or against or accept a challenge thrown down by Councillor Holstead? No?
I wish put it to a
Put
vote.
it straight to a vote. All in favour of? Carried unanimously. No one was willing. 8.8, Save Silverleaf's petition, presented by Ms Kennedy again.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this report is to respond to a petition titled Save Silverleaves, received by Council at its 18th March 2026 meeting. The petition lists several requests of Council and state government agencies with the overall aim of better protecting residents and private property in Silverleaves from a range of coastal hazards. Under the Marine and Coastal Act 2018, responsibilities for coastal and inundation hazards and resilience planning are shared by a number of key agencies, including local councils, and led by the state government. This report recommends that Council write to the Minister for Environment, urging the state government to lead and resource development of a comprehensive coastal hazard adaptation and resilience plan that addresses all of the coastal hazards to which Silverleaves is exposed, continues to support the implementation of actions in the Cowes East and Silverleaves Adaptation Plan to protect the North Foreshore and Silverleaves from coastal erosion, continue to work with lead agencies responsible for emergency management functions, including emergencies arising from coastal hazards in Silverleaves, and to continue its advocacy efforts. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Kennedy. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Morgan, seconded Councillor Bell. Councillor Morgan.
Thank you very much, Mayor. And let me start by thanking the petitioner and remembering he came in when we were on Malau Phillip Island to present this petition. I think we all heard those calls and we all share empathy and sympathy for so many people in our coastal communities who are subject to coastal inundation and climate impacts. If I were to rename this petition, I wouldn't call it Save Silverleaves. I'd call it Save Silverleaves, Save Cowes, Save Inverloch, Save Venus Bay, Sandy Point. This is not a Silverleaf specific issue. This is not a Bass Coast specific issue. This is not a Gippsland specific issue. This is a global climate crisis. And what we are dealing with is the face of that. We have people in our community who are rightly outraged that their property values are falling, that their homes are uninsurable, and we can't just keep going about business as usual and sticking our heads in the ever-eroding sand. I hate to think what will happen in the next 10 to 20 years for these communities. You know, these are towns that are built on sand dunes. We're looking at a metre of sea level rise by 2100. There's no wall, there's nothing we can do unless we're going to put our entire continent on stilts that is going to save every single coastal property in this country. And we need our federal and state leaders to stand up. We need them to stop taking donations from the fossil fuel sector and stop taking their talking points, stop approving new fossil fuel projects to make it worse, and fund climate resilience. Fund the houses that are falling into the sea all across our country and do the right thing. This is what our democratic leaders have been elected to do, and it is unfair for us to sit here dealing with petitions from our community in good faith without the levers to actually help them. These people deserve to know what is happening to their livelihoods, their properties into the future. And until I hear something from our state and federal leaders, I will keep calling them out in this chamber.
Thank you, Councillor Morgan. Councillor Bell.
Sure, I'll go after that.
Yeah.
I also want to acknowledge the residents of Silverleaves who have taken the time to bring forward this petition. And I see you back here in the gallery again. It reflects the genuine concern about the future of their community and the risks posed by coastal hazards. Their message is clear. They're seeking coordinated, meaningful action across all levels of government. It's clear that further work is required, and particularly in understanding and addressing the land-based flooding risks to ensure a comprehensive approach to resilience planning. The scale and complexity of the challenges facing Silverleaves requires leadership and investment beyond council alone, and that's why the recommendation to write to the Minister for Environment is so important. A comprehensive state-led plan is necessary to address the full range of risks facing Silver Leaves, including erosion, storm surge and inundation, in a coordinated and properly resourced way. This is about long-term planning, community safety and ensuring that residents are not left to face these challenges without clear direction and support. We must continue to work closely with the Silver Leaves community while advocating strongly to state and Commonwealth governments for the leadership and resources required.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. Would anyone else like to speak to or against? Councillor Temby.
Thank you, Mayor. I do understand the sentiments behind the Silver Leaves position and emails, and have family and friends who live in Silver Leaves. I hear their concerns regularly. I do not agree with the assumed logic of the levy bank proposal in the petition. However, the advocacy suggested in the motion here is critically important. We need a consistent approach to be implemented at state level and hopefully nationally. No local government in Australia is able to address the financial implications of inundation from sea level rise, let alone all the other climate change impacts we are facing. It is therefore most important that state and federal governments address the matter with urgency, and local landowners need to make their own decisions as well. Once state and federal governments seriously address both the causes of climate change and the impacts we see in Bass Coast as a national issue, we may get more sustainable outcomes delivered locally. We need to support this advocacy, and we need to encourage many more councillors to join us in doing so. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Temby. Would anyone else like to speak to or against this recommendation? Councillor Bauer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, fellow councillors and ratepayers watching this meeting. I think we could have done better with this petition. There are sections in this report that do worry me. All 4 recommendations in this report are motherhood statements and will give little actual comfort to the residents of Silver Leaves. In section 4 of the recommendations, I'd like to draw fellow councillors' attentions to B, a proactive and equitable framework for staged retreat of coastal assets in vulnerable locations, and D, stronger national emissions reduction targets that are consistent with the latest science. In section 4B, we are saying to the residents by using the R word, retreat, that we have given up. The strategy of applying a levy bank to protect as much of Silver Leaves as possible should be fully explored before we give up and tell the residents the inevitable long-term outcome is retreat. If this retreat approach had been used in Louisiana, USA, New Orleans would not exist. 4D, maybe our advocacy, it may be in our advocacy, but since the adaptation by councils have been warned about overstepping their boundaries into areas that are beyond council's briefs. Stronger national emissions and reduction targets are consistent with the latest science. It's the responsibility of the state and federal governments. And I commend Councillor Morgan for bringing it to our attention yet again. But I'm quite sure that Minister Bowen has got the message loud and clear. I would like to move that this report, all 4 parts will be voted for in separate sections, Mr. Mayor.
Excuse me.
It's up to you whether you want to accept that, putting the motion to vote in parts. It can be requested by the councillor. It's up to you to determine.
Your call. Can you bring it up? I'll just pause for a couple of minutes. Thanks. Thanks, Councillor Bauer.
So I don't have 4 on the screen, but I'll put 1 to 3, and then I'll have to do
Just say yes or no.
This was introduced as a whole. Of course,
yeah, but it can be voted for.
No, raised an alternative to move it to 4.
I'm not changing the motion.
No, yeah, well you are. You introduced them as separate, so we can vote separately.
Okay. Thank you for your request, Councillor Bauer, but I reject the proposal. So we'll continue on with the motion as is, please. Would anyone else like to speak to or against this recommendation?
Mr Mayor, I just wanted to clarify how, if Councillor Bauer did wish to separate the 4 points of the recommendation, how would he have achieved that? I would have thought it would be an alternative. Is that?
No, he's requested to separate the motion, of which I've rejected the request. So, okay, so we'll get back to the original motion as is. We've had Councillor Morgan move, Councillor Temby.
Councillor.
I haven't finished yet. Councillor Morgan moved, Councillor Bell seconded. We've had Councillor Temby speak to, and we've had Councillor Bauer speak to. Would anyone else like to speak to or against the motion as it was?
Any
Or is? Pardon?
Okay. Yeah, I'm against. Although there's elements, thank you, Mr Mayor, although there's elements of the, as Councillor Bauer has alluded to, there's elements of the recommendation that I am in favour of, such as the advocacy. I was the only councillor last year that didn't endorse the Labor government's state strategic planning policy document that the whole council, well, aside from myself, as I just said, the only councillor didn't endorse retreat, because that document endorsed retreat. And that was the saddest moment to me on my time on council. Unfortunately, that endorsed retreat for Inverloch. It endorsed the council's position of retreat on Silverleaves. And I will continue to advocate. It would be hypocritical for me to do anything but continue to advocate for protection in this space. As I know, Councillor O'Brien was positive on protection of Silverleaves as well. So I'm standing against this motion and voting against this motion because of the retreat factor in it. And that is something that I have been consistent with and I have not moved on. That document that was endorsed last year, that I have still concerns.
Councillor Edwards, if I can ask you, I gave you a little bit of room at the start, bringing you back to the current motion.
There are just a couple of things I would like to address in the, I know that the full petition is not obviously in the council papers, but just a couple of things in there. Protection for our homes, I agree with that. Action by council and state government, absolutely agree with that. Protection from coastal erosion, sea level flooding. I believe we should be doing everything we can in areas where there's developed infrastructure already. It's one thing to say, what do we do going forward, but where is there existing infrastructure? We do need to do everything that we can to protect those areas. Protection for our land values from dropping further. As a council, no matter what we do in the space of coastal erosion, there are other factors at play, for example, last week's federal budget, that impact on people's land values dropping. So we can't change everything in terms of that side of it. So we can't protect land values, unfortunately. But on all those other sides, it would be inconsistent for me to do anything but reject this motion because of the retreat factor in there.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Would anyone else like to speak to or against this recommendation? Councillor Holstead.
Mr Mayor, I'd just like to pick up on some points that Councillor Edwards has made, and that is that this council is being guided by the expert advice. We are not engineers, and we do need to take into consideration what the scientists are telling us, and that's what we base our decisions on. Of course, councillors do not support retreat. That would be an absolute last resort. And I know that every councillor around this bench would be absolutely 100% behind protection of people's properties. No one wants to see someone's home go into the drink. That is the last thing any of us want to see. But there's no use sticking your head in the sand, excuse the pun.
It was already used, Councillor Holstead.
Yes, Councillor Morgan did use the same analogy, I know.
We like recycling.
What we need to do is always, yes, protection. But in the event that what the scientists are telling us ends up to be true, there does need to be a plan. There does need to be some direction. So I think that asking the state and federal governments who have the ability to make that plan, who have the ability to, for example, set aside an environmental fund We're talking about 100 years, so there's some time now to build up the kitty where we can help families, you know, who might be facing crisis, and the big word being might be. So I reject what Councillor Edwards has inferred with her debate about councillors somehow being in support of retreat. We are in support of following the experts, the scientists, of protection at all costs. But at the end of the day, if the scientists are telling us this is going to happen, then we need a plan. We can't just leave people sitting out there waiting for the water to swallow up their homes if that's what's going to happen. So I absolutely will be supporting that we write to the Minister and advocate to the Minister, both at state and federal levels, to at least come up with a plan in case the absolute worst does occur. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Councillor Holstead. And just a point of clarification, I think Councillor Edwards suggested we voted for the document that had the word retreat in it. We didn't actually support it. We voted for it. Would anyone else like to speak to or against this recommendation? No. Councillor Morgan, you have the right to reply.
Thank you. I think that the point of contention here seems to be in point 4B, that is continuing advocacy efforts calling for a proactive and equitable framework for staged retreat of coastal assets in vulnerable locations. Now, retreat seems to be a delicate word, and I'm really not sure why. I support retreat in the same way that I put a seatbelt on when I get in my car. This is like saying that, acknowledging the reality that there will need to be a retreat of coastal assets in areas subject to inundation is not saying we can't do anything else. That's not us going down to Bunnings and buying some cardboard boxes and telling people to get out. That's us advocating with the scientific knowledge of coastal inundation and calling for buybacks, equitable arrangements so people aren't left holding the kitty when their houses fall into the sea. It doesn't mean that you can't do anything else. It means that we need to be prepared for the worst case scenario, and to not do that is to completely walk away from our duty of care to our community. So I'm going to say it again. Retreat, adaptation, protection, it all means the same thing. It's acknowledging the scientific reality of this climate crisis, and we need to stop shying away from it.
Okay. Perfect timing. Okay. With that, we'll put it to a vote. All in favour of the recommendation as it reads? Okay. And against? Carried.
May I call a division, please?
All in favour of the recommendation as it reads: Councillor Holstead, Councillor Temby, Councillor Bell, Councillor Tassari, Councillor Thompson, Councillor Morgan. And against? Councillor Edwards and Councillor Bauer. Okay, 8.9, delegated authority to the CEO for acceptance and execution of loan quotation of $2 million, to be presented by Mr Dillon.
Thank you. And through the Mayor, this report seeks Council's approval to delegate authority to the Chief Executive Officer to accept and execute a $2 million loan with Treasury Corporation Victoria. The borrowings are already provided for in the 2025-2026 budget and are tied to two capital works projects, the Wonthaggi to Inverloch Shared Path and the Wonthaggi Netball Pavilion. The recommendation is that Council authorise the Chief Executive Officer to accept the loan proposal and pricing from the Treasury Corporation Victoria for a facility of $2 million to be repaid on principal and interest based over 10 years, and to execute the applicable loan facility agreements on behalf of Bass Coast Shire Council.
Thank you, Mr Dillon. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Thompson, second to Councillor Temby. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I move we accept this report and give delegation to our CEO to execute a loan for $2 million with the Treasury Corporation Victoria. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Temby.
Thank you. We get mortgages to enjoy the asset now and spread the cost over time. This is the same thing. As long as we stay within local government guidelines, loan projections, and stay within our capacity to service the debt without compromising other priorities, This deserves support.
Thank you, Councillor Temby. Anyone else like to speak to or against? No?
Put it to a vote.
Put it straight to a vote. All in favour of? Carried unanimously. 8.10, award of tender number 26003, annual supply of tree maintenance, presented by Ms Kennedy.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this report is to seek council acceptance of the tender submissions and award contract number 26003A and 26003F to the tenders identified in the report for the purposes of establishing a limited panel of contractors. Council has an extensive tree maintenance program, which is increasingly growing from year to year. To fulfil its current and future work commitments, Council must periodically engage appropriately experienced and licensed contractors to assist the infrastructure maintenance team with undertaking this work throughout the Shire. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Kennedy. Can I have a mover and a seconder for this motion? Councillor Temby, seconder. Councillor Morgan. Councillor Temby.
Thank you. This is a good approach, as we'll have a panel of pre-approved suppliers that we can tap into up to the yearly cap. It's a financially efficient way to address the issue and should be supported.
Thank you. Councillor Morgan.
It's very true. It's, you know, I sit here liking to think that I support ongoing services being managed in-house where possible, but this sort of tree maintenance is not everyday work, and it's really good that we can bring in the expert contractors in where we need them.
Thank you, Councillor Morgan. Would anyone else like to speak to or against this recommendation? No? Put it to a vote. Councillor Temby.
Yes, thank you.
All in favour? Carried unanimously. 8.11, appointment of external and council committees. Mr Dillon to introduce.
Thank you, and through the Mayor. Following the recent change in mayoral leadership, it is necessary to update Council's delegate appointments to the Municipal Association of Victoria and the Audit and Risk Committee to ensure continued representation through to the 8th of December 2026. The recommendation is that Council appoint one councillor and one councillor substitute to the Municipal Association of Victoria External Committee and appoint the Mayor and one councillor to the Audit and Risk Committee, both until this 8th of December 2026. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Dillon. I believe I have an alternative by yourself, Councillor Morgan.
Thank you. This is a fairly procedural one, just adding some of my colleagues' names.
Thank you very much. Would you like to, well, you've done that. Can I get a seconder for this alternative? Councillor Thompson, you're happy to...
Happy to pass the work on to my esteemed colleagues, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Thompson.
Exactly the same. Thank you, Mayor.
Anyone else like to speak to or against this recommendation or this alternative? No? Put it to a vote.
Please.
All in favour? Carried unanimously. 8.12, review of instrument of delegation, council to staff. Can I have somebody? Oh, no, how about I have you, Mr Dillon, present?
Thank you. And through the Mayor, this report recommends that Council adopts an updated instrument of delegation from Council to staff, revoking the previously adopted instrument. The update reflects recent legislative changes, in particular amendments to the Planning and Environment Act 1987, as well as operational and positional title changes across the organisation. Instruments of delegation are assigned to positions, not individuals, and are essential to enable staff to carry out their roles efficiently on behalf of Council. The recommendation is that Council resolves to delegate the powers, duties and functions set out in the attached instrument delegation to the relevant staff positions, that the instrument come into force immediately upon the resolution and be signed by the CEO, and that all previous delegations to Council staff other than the CEO be revoked upon its commencement. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Dillon. Can I have somebody, Councillor Thompson, and can I have a seconder, Councillor Temby? Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Having read this report in great detail, very great detail, and having numerous discussions, I'm very happy now to move this report. Thank you.
Can I seek clarification how many pages were in that report?
But 500?
Lots and lots.
Councillor
I'll read
Temby.
every one.
This is a very necessary process and needs support. It's well controlled and Council cannot function without it. We need to pass it.
Anyone else like to speak to or against this recommendation?
I have some other book recommendations.
Thank you, Councillor Morgan. We'll put it to a vote. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
All in favour? Carried unanimously. Okay, that brings us to stat reports. report number 9.1, informal meetings of councillors. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Thompson, seconded Councillor Bell. Put it to a vote. All in favour? Passed. Sorry,
it's all right.
you're right? Yep. Carried unanimously. 9.2, planning and building statistics, March 2022. A mover and a seconder. Councillor Thompson, seconded Councillor Morgan. Put it straight to a vote.
I'd just first like to say thank you.
I was on a roll then, Councillor Thompson.
Sorry, Mr Mayor. I really would like to thank the staff. They don't get enough accolades and they do a great job. Thank you very much to the staff who prepare and go through all the planning details. Thank you.
And thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Morgan, would you like to?
Happy to endorse those comments and send it back.
Anyone else like to speak to or against this recommendation? No? Put it to a vote. Oh, Councillor Temby.
A quick one.
At the 11th hour.
Thank you. Yep. I see more building in inundation overlay areas with sea level rise. Developers need to understand the shortcomings of their decisions if they're going to go ahead with that. The ongoing removal of numerous canopy trees, including in vegetation protection zones, should stop. We should be requiring canopy tree replacement or full cost replacement for council to add additional canopy trees in the vicinity. This will become progressively more and more important as climate change impacts worsen.
Thank you, Councillor Temby. Anyone else like to speak to or against this recommendation? No, Councillor
Put it to a vote.
Put it to a vote. All in favour of? Carried unanimously. 9.3, Councillor allowance and expenses for Councillor term 11th of November 2024 to the 31st of March 2026. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Bell, seconded Councillor Bauer. Councillor Bell, put it straight to a vote. All in favour? Carried unanimously. 9.4, contracts awarded and or extended under CEO delegation for March and April 2026. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Thompson, seconded Councillor Morgan.
Put it to a vote, Mr
Put it
Mayor.
straight to a vote. All in favour? Carried unanimously. 9.5, Municipal Association of Victoria Quarterly Delegate Report. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Holstead, seconded. Councillor Bauer. Councillor Holstead.
Mr Mayor, I did wish to speak to the MAV quarterly report. This is the first one that we're receiving in the council chamber, and it's something that the Municipal Association of Victoria has recently introduced to keep people across what has been happening at that level. The MAV is a representative organisation of the local government sector. Of course, Mr Mayor, you'd be aware that I am on the board of the MAV, so it's the reason I wanted to highlight the work that they're doing. And obviously in an election year, they are gearing up with their Shaping Our Future document. They have introduced a State Council resolution dashboard, which is really interesting to read. In fact, that dashboard tells you what notices of motion have been put up from local governments right across Victoria, and it tells you what the MAV has done with those notices of motion. As you would know, Mr Mayor, having been on the MAV board yourself and now as the delegate, they do some pretty incredible work. It doesn't often get bubbled to the top because it's never really been brought in as an official report to the council chamber. So I think this is a really good step in the right direction, and I'm really impressed with the work that they've been doing over the last 18 months to 2 years, of which I have been on the board. So yeah, so keep an eye out for it, councillors, if you're interested in what's happening at that top of the tree across the sector area, then this is a good report to get stuck into. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Holstead. Councillor Bauer.
I can't top that. That's great.
I wouldn't try either. Councillor Edwards.
I think it's great that this, thank you, Mr Mayor, I think it's great that this report has been shared. However, I would like to ask the question for the next time this report comes in, what difference has the MAV made to our ratepayers? For our investment in MAV, which I understand is somewhere in the vicinity of $95,000 plus delegates' time, travel, accommodation, expensive conferences. I was fortunate enough to be able to get a scholarship to go to a conference last year, which The room was hardly, I'm glad it was a scholarship because I certainly would have wanted it at ratepayers' expense. The Sunday was virtually empty. A full weekend at an expensive venue and the Sunday is virtually empty. I unfortunately found, I'm a teetotaler when it comes to council events, and I was really sadly disappointed at the amount of alcohol that was consumed at the event. And I think that there's some questions that we need to ask.
Point of order, Mr Mayor.
It's got nothing to do with the report.
It probably is straying away. I gave you a little bit of room, but the point is you're seeking some additional
Some
information.
value. What is the value to our ratepayers?
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll take that on notice. Thank you, Councillor Edwards.
Yeah.
Would anyone else like to speak to or against this recommendation? No? I'm coming back to you, Councillor Holstead, if you can.
Yeah, Mr
Stick
Mayor, I would
points.
address Councillor Edwards' concerns in relation to the work that the MAV does. It advocates very strongly for not just at a local level where we're advocating for our community here, but for sector-changing policies and strategies directly with the state government. They actually have become quite powerful, the MAV, and they do have the strong ear of ministers and the Premier and shadow ministers. The work they've been doing recently, which is an example, is the financial sustainability of local government and the need for changes both at state and federal levels to support local government more strongly. Now, that has a direct correlation with our community because it impacts on the services and infrastructure and assets that we as a council are able to.
Councillor Holstead, I'm gonna butt in there. I understand you're coming back to what was said by Councillor Edwards, but I also asked Councillor Edwards to come back to what we are talking on the motion. So if you can stick to the current motion, I've asked for clarification to come back at a future meeting. That will give you your opportunity then to speak back towards that then. So please stick to the points for the current motion.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm just a very strong supporter of the work of the MAV. Yes, they do have functions, and yes, there is wine consumed at those functions.
Again, Councillor Holstead,
Social event.
if I can ask you to come back to the current
It's
motion.
a networking event, and networking is really important for our sector. So I wouldn't say that people are rolling all over the floor, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Holstead. I'll end it there.
I will put it.
I will
I'm happy to
end it
put
there.
for you to put it to the vote.
Thank you, Councillor Holstead.
Thank you.
If we can put it to a vote, all in favour of the recommendation as it stands, carried unanimously. Okay, it brings us to urgent business, of which there is none. And now mayoral announcement. So the announcement is our next council meeting will be held on the 17th of June 2026 at Wonthaggi Civic Centre. The council chambers commencing at 1 o'clock. I'd like to think that I'll see just as many smiling faces in the gallery at our next meeting. I know we'll have one. But thank you all for attending today's meeting. The meeting will now be closed to public pursuant to Section 66 of the Local Government Act 2020 to consider items as they deal with personal information being information which will, if released, would result in unreasonable disclosure of information about any person or person's affair. Can I have a mover and a seconder? That we, Councillor Bauer, seconded Councillor Thompson. Put it to a vote. Carried unanimously. Thank you for watching on the live stream of our council meeting. The meeting will be closed and there will be a short 5-minute break while we clear the room, and we will move straight into our closed meeting, and then we will come out into the foyer and mingle for a couple of minutes. It'll take us 5 to 10 minutes. So if we could just pause for the live stream to close now.
Can you say the time?
And the time is 2:25.